Jujutsu Kaisen, a manga that's widely known for its amazing anime adaptation and Shibuya arc, has helped it rise in a huge popularity over these past few years. When its anime adaptation first aired in 2020 was really when people started to have the series under its radar more than ever. Which, the manga itself was pretty popular, but when the anime came out, everyone couldn't stop talking about it, and it kept on getting more popular with every new episode. Animated by Studio Mappa, the studio that is known for its workers not being able to go back home and single-handedly animating over 5 different manga hits, was behind the popular names Dorororo, Dorohedoro, Banana Fish, Yuri on Ice, and even later in 2020 announced to animate Season 4 of Attack on Titan. I watched the first 8 episodes of JJK when they first aired and was really amazed at how good the adaptation itself was, but I stopped watching weekly entirely because I'm more the type of viewer to consume media from a binging standpoint rather than reading it weekly. As the anime and manga grew more and more popular, I really wondered, why do people love JJK so much? Because I really liked it, but it didn't seem like it was anything special. Until I watched the anime and read the manga, the series really has turned into its own thing. Yes, you'll see people comparing it to your classic shonen manga, but it actually has its own identity and changed a lot. Something we don't see a lot too often in Weekly Shonen Jump is a dark type of shonen. A lot of people in the anime and manga community tend to talk about the Dark Trio, which consists of JJK, Chainsaw Man, and Hell's Paradise, also known as Jigo. Chainsaw Man is a manga that exploded in popularity over its time running weekly during Shonen Jump, that I'd even argue is one of the more popular manga without an anime adaptation, because, you know, the mommy, step on me, all that. Dogs, barking, you know. Last year ended up getting a trailer which looks absolutely amazing, and it's accumulated over 16 million views on the trailer. Hell's Paradise, also known as Jigo, another amazing manga, about the adventures of Gabimaru the Hollow, a ninja known for being cold and emotionless, now on death row. Tired of killing and betrayal, he wants to die. However, no method of execution works on him, because as much as the seemingly apathetic Gabimaru refuses to admit, he does have a reason to live. He wants to return to his wife, who was the reason why he softened up and failed to be an effective assassin. Thus, he refuses to die. And it's a real nice short manga I've read, with one of the better conclusions. Somehow, being amazing, it still had nowhere near the amount of recognition the other manga have. The trailer for Hell's Paradise only has around 1 million views, which is good because it already wasn't such a popular manga, but it helped gather a good amount of recognition, which I could only imagine once it's airing for the anime to really take off in popularity. Akutami knew exactly what he wanted JJK to be, and the story doesn't look back after season 1. Almost immediately, we get a flashback on Gojo, one of the most popular characters in the series, and a huge fan favorite. During this, we get to learn a little more about Gojo, and even who Geto was before he changed. You even get to see a little of other characters who are currently teachers as students of the past, like Nanami, Iori, and even Mei. We even get introduced to a manga fan favorite character named Toji, and for some reason, every girl reader I've talked about seems to really like him, like be attracted to him. But in all seriousness, Toji is a badass character, and a menace that makes you feel like you want to root for him. He straight up has some Black Air Force energy, wanting smoke from 2 of the strongest characters in the manga. Toji waited many years for Gojo to be caught lacking, and to catch him when he least expected it, and his sneak attack could have been successful on anyone except Gojo, because, well, he's Gojo. Even Gojo's entrance when he came back from the dead was just a sick scene, seeing him use these other abilities that seemed so foreign to us, and learning even the slightest of anything about him was really fascinating. This fight itself is a perfect example of what makes Battle Shonen so amazing. The action, characters, sometimes the OP and broken abilities, and just the hype you feel from seeing what's going on. And even just concluding this little arc with showing us a bit more about Geto and then transitioning right into the Shibuya incident. The Shibuya incident arc is possibly considered to be one of the best new gen manga arcs, and even one of the best arcs of all time, and I think it's not a bad take. I've always thought and wondered why people really held JJK and this arc in such a high regard, and all my doubts about this arc are actually in the mud. This arc really shows that Akutami wasn't scared to take these risks in his story and do what needed to be done, because I like the beginning of JJK, but there wasn't anything that made it stand out or be something different. It had a really good start and got you into the story, but a lot of new gen manga do that, and I like it, but at the same time, a lot of characters end up not being fleshed out, or you just don't exactly feel attached to certain characters. Like Junpei, for example. I get why Yuji was mad and all, but from the viewer's perspective, I didn't feel attached to Junpei or his death because it happened so fast, and that's normally my main issue with new gen manga. But throughout Shibuya, Akutami really showed us why he's a sadistic writer and isn't afraid to kill off characters or shock the reader. And I really like that because I think a lot of shonen, old and new, are afraid to kill off characters, and it shows the consistency with the character writing because it's true and something that's not out of character. For example, Sukuna being a cold-blooded demon and won't look back once he kills anyone because that's who Sukuna really is. I really like Sukuna personally as an inner demon because he's unique and different from the others. I get that they all play different roles for why they're existing, but Sukuna doesn't care or feel remorse for Yuji at all, and they're always at odds because they're complete opposites, which Sukuna never helps Yuji. In fact, every time he takes over his body, he always ruins things for Yuji and makes his problems harder than they already are. For example, when Yuji is passed out and the two sisters Nanako and Mimiko feed Yuji Sukuna's fingers for their own needs, Sukuna awakens and gives no doubts or second thoughts on listening to their order and disposes of them. I like it because it shows that Sukuna isn't going to help anyone no matter their needs, and he'll say the same. And it shows really good writing because it's a recurring theme that constantly happens whenever Sukuna does come out. And every time Sukuna comes out, it's always fun to watch him be an absolute menace and do his thing. Seeing curses interact with other curses is actually really interesting. Like how Jogo wanted to be human and felt like his life had no meaning until Sukuna told him that the fight between them actually entertained him. I like Mahito too, because he gradually does things so you don't forget him. Starting from the Junpei incident like I called previously, then pre-Shibuya his fight with Mekamaru, and what he did to a couple other characters. Overall, I really just like how Shibuya was an arc that gave a lot of characters screen time and or fleshing out other characters. Characters like Yuji, Mahito, Toji, Sukuna, Megumi, Nobara, Kenjaku, and many more. Characters like Nobara, Mimiko, Nanako, Maki, and Mai are huge examples of showing that Akutami can write an outstanding female cast, which in anime and manga is something that I feel would be interesting and amazing to see more of from the shonen genre. As one of my favorite characters in the series, Maki Zenin, who I didn't really think was a bad character, but I wasn't too invested into her character until the extermination of the Zenin clan, and I can rightfully say that Maki is my favorite character in JJK as a whole. And honestly, I love the resemblance that Akutami was showing between Maki and Toji. Especially as what we have from Shibuya with his fight with Megumi. It looked like we wouldn't really get too much on Toji, but I really like the involvement Akutami is giving these characters, even if you thought their arcs were done or a character wasn't too important. Even the Culling Games arc is really solid for an arc, and I really enjoy how Akutami is once again able to introduce more characters that are interesting and have many likable features and don't seem to be getting left behind, as well as I really like the direction the story is heading. I really hope we get to see more lore and see more newer characters shine because it's something that I feel is needed in most battle shonen manga. A likable cast is really needed, and JJK is really showing that it can make a good cast, as well as getting better and solidify itself as its own series. Counter to how I felt after just watching season 1, which didn't feel unique, but I love what Akutami has done with it, and this series feels really special. As for Yuji being a good main character, I really agree. A lot of the community, from what I've seen, has said he's either an S tier character or a high A character. As for Yuji being a good main character, I really agree. A lot of the community, from what I've seen, has either said he's an S tier character or a high A tier character. Or people will even go as far as to argue that he's on the level or better than characters like Luffy or Ichigo. I really think Yuji is an amazing character, and I really like him, and I love the direction Akutami wants to head towards with him, because in the beginning of the series, Gojo practically tells him he has to die in the beginning or he has to die once everything else is finished. Eventually, he has to die. And I really like this route because a lot of shonen manga don't do this, and it feels like a change of pace. In the beginning, Yuji in a way, not negative or positive, reminds me a little bit of Ichigo, living in the real world, going to high school, and not specifically having a dedicated goal like that of becoming something special for his own needs or desires. Yuji was just a lighthearted character who was funny and wanted people to have proper deaths they deserve, but Sukuna came into the picture very quickly and has changed Yuji's life a lot. Almost immediately into the series, Sukuna practically killed off Yuji, which eventually came back to life, and in Shibuya was really when he changed Yuji's future. Originally, Yuji in Shibuya passed out and got fed Sukuna's fingers without him really knowing, and so Sukuna took over. Sukuna took over and just went on a rampage because no one really was able to stop him, and killed a lot of civilians in the process, making Yuji a killer. Which is crazy because Yuji never wanted and wished for that, and ever since he ate that first finger, his life changed. And during the Calling Games is when we see Yuji accept what happened and realize the world is cruel, in the sense that things won't always go your way. That's why I'm a huge fan of the fight between Yuji and Higuruma, because it also fleshes out more of Yuji's character. As people are saying, we are also 60% done with JJK, which is surprising, but also I'm really excited to see how Akutami handles the rest of JJK and the situation with Yuji, because I feel like a lot of the community actually agrees on Yuji dying at the end.